Do 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 do. Josh's Order Corner.
Welcome back to Josh's Hoarder Corner. It's been a rough day for Cujo, so we will see how this goes. His cough is pretty rough today. Might have to do quite a bit of editing on it. I have in today, all the way from the mean streets of Rhinebeck, New York, a box. This box is from OblongBooks. Put a link in the description below for them. If you like reading, if you know how to read, you should check them out. I prefer independent bookstores versus our corporate ones. Gotta support independent bookstores, you know? This was something that popped up. I can't remember where I saw it. I think it was a Stephen King fan group that I follow that shared something about it. So I went ahead and grabbed this to see what it was all about. I'm looking at the invoice and I see that there is one crossed off and one not. I don't know what that means yet, but we will see. Look at that. I like that. OblongBooks, you folks have amazing wrapping skills. There was bubble wrap on top to keep them safe, and then they were wrapped in this nice brown paper. There's a ding in the corner. I'm just kidding. I won't be mad about that. So what we have here is Owen King, The Curator. His newest novel. I believe this is like his fourth. I'm going to cheat. So we're all in this together back in 2005. That was a collection of short stories. Double feature in 2013. Interesting. Very interesting book. I do recommend it. It's different. Tom Savini is a character. That made me happy. Sleeping Beauties with his father. Maybe you've heard of him. Stephen King. That was in 2017. And then today, now we have released last week, The Curator. Curator sounded very interesting. And the reason that I ordered it from this organization is because of this right here. Owen King signed it. And I think that stamp is for this too, because there's ink in the middle of the page. So I feel like the stamp might be special for this release as well. This book did sound very interesting. And it was one that I was going to get eventually, but when I saw that they had the signed version of it, I jumped all over it. How about I tell you about it? How's that sound? It begins in the city named the Fairest, distinguished by many things, from its river, the mighty Fair, to the mountains that split the municipality in half, its theaters and many museums, the morgue ship, and, like all cities, but maybe especially so, by its essential unmappability. Dora has an obscure desire to find where her brother went after he died, believing that the answer lies within the Society for Psychical Research, where he worked when Dora was a child. With the city amid an overthrow of the ruling class, Dora discovers the society all but burned to the ground, yet finds a way to become the wartime curator of the museum next door and search for the truth. Owen King has crafted an ominous yet delightful sweeping novel of secret histories, monstrous magic, and revolution, all tied to an obscure little museum whose secrets begin to unfurl along with the mysterious history of the city itself. About the author. Owen King is the author of Double Feature and We're All in This Together, a novella and stories. He is the co-author of Sleeping Beauties and Intro to Alien Invasion, and the co-editor of Who Can Save Us Now? Brand new superheroes and their amazing short stories. He lives in upstate New York with his family. So, signed editions are always fun to have on hand. The signature in this one looks excellent. The stamp, like I said, I'll have to find out if the stamp is special with this, but I'm pretty sure it is. So, very happy to add this to the collection. It will go on my Stephen King shelf next to my signed Joe Hill, and hopefully eventually soon, since it was ordered 3 years ago, my Tabitha King. The second one, I actually ordered this not long ago, but when I saw it on their website, I had to get a second copy. Because here we have B himself, Bret Easton Ellis, his newest novel, The Shards. Now, Bret Easton Ellis is well known for his novel American Psycho, that went on to be an amazing movie. His writing is great. There are some of his earlier works that I really, really, really want to revisit. It's been a while. So I may need to start with those before I dive into this one. But if I open this up here, right there in the front is his signature, Bret Easton Ellis. He did, in 2019, release a non-fiction book called White, which I read some reviews on, and I believe he got quite a bit of hate for, but I want to check it out. It sounds interesting. Let's see here. Give you a little tasty. A sensational new novel from the best-selling author of Less Than Zero and American Psycho that tracks a group of privileged Los Angeles high school friends as a serial killer strikes across the city. One of the reasons I want to read White is it sounds like it talks about his life and growing up. And he sounds like he had, I don't want to say privilege because that always has such a negative tone to it, but it sounds like he had an interesting upbringing. And I really wanted to kind of understand that a little bit and see how that played into some of his writing. 17-year-old Bret is a senior at the exclusive Buckley Prep School when a new student arrives with a mysterious past. Robert Mallory is bright, handsome, charismatic, and shielding a secret from Bret and his friends even as Robert becomes a part of their tightly knit circle. Bret's obsession with Robert is equaled only by his increasingly unsettling preoccupation with the Trawler, a serial killer on the loose who seems to be drawing even closer to Bret and his friends, taunting them, and Bret in particular, with grotesque threats and horrific, sharply local acts of violence. The coincidences are uncanny, but they are also filtered through the imagination of a teenager whose gifts for constructing narrative from the filaments of his own life are about to make him one of the most explosive literary sensations of his generation. Can Bret trust his friends, or his own mind, to make sense of the danger they appear to be in? Thwarted by the world and by his own innate desires, buffeted by unhealthy fixations, he spirals into paranoia and isolation as the relationship between the Trawler and Robert Mallory hurtles inexorably toward a collision. Set against the intensely vivid and nostalgic backdrop of pre-Less Than Zero LA, The Shards is a mesmerizing fusion of fact and fiction, the real and the imagined, that brilliantly explores the emotional fabric of Bret's life at 17, sex and jealousy, obsession and murderous rage, gripping sly, suspenseful, deeply haunting, and often darkly funny. The Shards is Ellis at his inimitable best. Bret Easton Ellis is the author of 6 novels, a collection of essays, and a collection of stories, which have been translated into 32 languages. He lives in Los Angeles and is the host of the Bret Easton Ellis podcast, available on Patreon. Yeah, so that sounds good. Sounds interesting. It's curious to understand why the character's name is his name. There's got to be a reason for that. Maybe not. I feel like there should be. Read a book. I highly recommend reading a book. It helps. It helps you relax and center yourself. Currently, I am reading A Mother's Reckoning by Sue Klebold, the mother of Dylan Klebold, who was one of the gunmen at Columbine. My nice Pet Cemetery bookmark. I always have a book in my hand, and I recommend that you do too. Until next time, friends.